Welcome back to another episode of We Are the Ones podcast. This is the podcast where we have extraordinary conversations with extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. Avi, what's up? How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good, Jamil.
Yeah?
Yeah,
How's your day going?
My day's going good. It's Monday again. I'm a little tired from working out, but I'm pushing through.
Yeah, beast mode over here.
I'm pushing through.
Yeah, I see you putting in the work, man.
I'm trying. How you doing?
I'm good. You know, the sun is out today, you know, so.
It was out today. It was a nice 53.
Was it 53?
Yeah, it was a nice 53 today.
Yeah, that's cool, I guess.
I think it's because you're thinking about what's coming up. Are you thinking about what's coming up?
Yeah. I know we're supposed to get some snow this week, which kind of sucks, but, you know. Yep. But listen, I don't even waste any time today. I want to hop right into this conversation. We have an amazing guest with us today, Avi. When we talk about this renaissance that's taking place here in Buffalo, New York, it's been a lot of economic activity happening here over, I would say, the past 10, 15 years or so, right? But I think part of that has been around like real estate, right? And we don't have a lot of conversations around real estate on this show, which we need to have more of. But I think for so long, particularly here in Buffalo, you know, we've seen that real estate space dominated by people who don't look like us, right? And oftentimes, I mean, I think it's at our detriment, and it's at the detriment of people in our community. So, but there have been people, whether they're real estate agents, whether they're contractors, whether they're in development, people who do look like us, who's been trying to, make some waves up here. And I want to say over the past maybe a few years that I've been noticing, that I've been paying attention, our guest has been making some major waves here in this space here in Buffalo, and it's needed because that representation is really needed in this space. And I'm super excited to talk to him because he has an amazing organization that he's a part of. Again, he's doing some amazing things in real estate right now. Him and his partners. I mean, it's just him here today, but we want to talk about all of the great work that they are doing. They have a major event coming up real soon, so we want to talk about that as well. But I'm super excited to have on our podcast today, Mr. Andrew Scott. What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being on
thank you for
today.
coming, man. Like, just move a little closer to your mic for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. No, we really appreciate you, bro, for coming on today. Because again, we just felt like that it was really important to really start having these conversations around real estate, right? Because one of the things that we typically do here on this podcast is just like really dropping some gems and giving people value on how they could just do more things, whatever space that they're in, how they can really take whatever they're doing to the next level. And again, we haven't had a lot of conversations around real estate, and I think it's really important because I think the landscape here in Buffalo is shifting. I think your team have a lot to do with this landscape that's shifting up here in Buffalo, and I think it's shifting for the better. But I could be completely wrong. I mean, this is an outsider who knows nothing about real estate, from the outside looking in, but so we want to give you an opportunity to kind of just talk about all of the great things that you guys are doing up here. But, but first, before we do, just kind of tell us, like, how did you get this start? How did you get your start in real estate?
Yeah, sure. So my start really comes from my dad's history in the business. So my father's been in for 35 years now. And so I was born in the industry. I'm 36 myself. So I've always seen my dad on site. When the walnut and the hickory and the sycamore properties went up, I was there on site. It was there when the land was there. I was there when the frames went up, and I was there. And I was selling those homes, right? And I was able to see the development happen. So I was able to see my dad take people and them become homeowners, and now their children own the home, and now I'm selling those homes for the children and getting us. So I was born in the industry, really. That was the first taste. It was kind of organic. I just kind of walked into it, having a background, which is kind of why the organization is what it is. It's about exposure for me. because I felt that if I didn't get that exposure, I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure that other people get that, what I got, and caused me to be here today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that because, again, we talk about representation. It's really important that, we have faces that look like ours at the table, because historically, and we've seen this over the history of this city, that it's typically dominated by, people who don't look like us, right? So, and, we're seeing a lot of different, projects, developments, organizations pop up that's really centered around like making sure that, black people are properly, black and brown and BIPOC people are properly represented in this space, and, we have, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's the Buffalo, the real estate organization that, oh my God, I'm shooting a blank right now. Roz is the president of
MMB.
Oh,
yeah. I'm sorry.
So, but the organization,
the Realtor organization. So that's the Buffalo Niagara Board of Realtors, the Buffalo Niagara Association of Realtors.
There we go. Yes. Right. So, and that's amazing because if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, but is she the first black person to serve in that role?
Out of 118 years in the existence of this Buffalo Niagara Association of Realtors, she's the first black individual, and then on that, obviously, it's a female. So
first black woman.
Historical. Yeah, very historical. They serve a 1-year term, so she was in for a year, came out at the beginning of this year, but that was just a major pivot, right?
Yeah.
Because that opened, like many other times where we've seen the first of our people in spaces, it tells us that this is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is like beyond possible.
Yeah.
Now, what the things that I've dreamt, right, or my grandmother dreamt of, happened in front of me. Mm-hmm. So if she can get there, then where can I go? Right. And so that a lot of times opening that door is one thing, leading people in is another. So she did both. So that was very big for our people.
That's huge, man. What do you think it is about diversity? Like, why and how do you believe that diversity? Lost my thought. Damn, I lost my thought that quick. I had a thought about this. So, how do you believe that diversity and representation impact the real estate market, and what changes have you seen in it over the course of your career?
Well, I feel like diversity in all professional spaces that services communities is really, really important. I don't care what community it is. I think that seeing people, and I'm going to get outside of the color because we could lay very heavy on color because that's where we're coming from. But when we talk about creed, right, we talk about the fair housing things, and I'll touch on this later. But when we're talking about sexual orientation, and we're talking about disabled, right, all of those things, we're talking about age and obviously gender, that all plays a significant role because sometimes people just like the diversity. Like, and it's not because you're looking for someone that's like you. Sometimes it just feels good to have a different person in front of you. And that's the natural way of feeling. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people that are very unnatural in their mindset. They want all of the same thing. That's not how we come out the womb. So I think it's very important just to the natural man or natural woman to feel that way. And that's kind of coming from my background in psychology. That's what I went to Buff State for. That's normal. And so I think that's important just as coming out the gate. Then we talk about actually going out to try to do something, right? This is really probably, I rank it as the third most important decision in your life. Having a child is probably the most, marrying is probably the second most, and then purchasing a home is that third piece for me. And so I recognize that when I'm in this space, I've been doing this for 8 years, and I recognize how important it is for these individuals and the decision that they're making. And so for them to see someone that looks like me, and now we're going to go back to the color, right? We talk about BIPOC. For someone to see a young person, I'm not that young anymore, but a young person that looks like them in this space, they first of all feel that this person understands the culture, right? There's not that gap. There's not that miss. There's things that I can say. There are subtle things that we can do that we all understand where we're going with that. We could pull up to a house and I might speak to something that might have been in a movie that I know you watched this movie, right? And you just wouldn't have that same thing with someone else. And if you did, it would be unnatural. You'd be like, how you know about that?
Right. Right.
Who put you onto that? But it's that thing, it's those unspoken things that we can, that we speak to amongst our community. That kind of goes back to how we are when we in the room with one of our aunties or our grandma, or maybe when we're at church. Like it don't have to be said. Or how you are with your significant other. There's things that your wife can do and only you knew what she meant and what happened. And we all like, how he know? But that's that unspoken thing. And so that makes it easier for you to deal with that individual. More importantly, that individual to approach you. The first thing that they have to do is have to see you and feel that you can be approached, right? People are like, oh, it's value, value, value. Light travel faster than sound. So if that's the case, they had to see you and believe that this person is for me. And typically, the person that looked like you is for you. So to see someone that's in that space, I counted 180 black real estate agents last time I checked. Now we're probably clearing 200 right now. I've counted 6 different black brokers.
In this area?
In this region. So we're talking about the Western New York region, really Buffalo to Rochester. Okay. And doing that count, we're still at about 3.5% of the whole market. Nationally, we take up 5% of the market, which is still extremely low.
That's super low.
We're quick to thinking about the cities that we're very familiar with, where we're dominating those cities, but you forgot about all of the other states and cities. There's 109,000 cities in America. While I'm on at 109,000 cities in America, Buffalo is set as the number 2 most segregated city in America. So when you ask that question, now I have to bring it home. That is the most important thing in this city, is diversity, is to make sure that people see people that look like them or live in that same culture or have the same likes, because there are so many people here that are against that are trying to stop that. There are impediments that are all around us on a daily basis that we just don't even recognize. And that doesn't have anything to do with just color, right? Segregation is segregation. You're wearing a red top. I might like my blue, and I might not talk to you because you got your red top on. That's how petty this city is.
I hate red too.
See, now we have that line drawn at this point, right? So that's segregation, and we don't think of it that way, but that's exactly what it is. That's why we sit apart from each other. I see that. That's why the distance is there. Y'all put me in the middle of this.
Don't worry about it.
So it's very, very important. You have to mix it up, right? Even investors tell you not to put all your eggs into one basket. It should be the same. Your company should look the same way. Now there's this DEI, push, which to one extent is fatty, right? I like to see it be here another 10 years from now and see if it really exists. And it's already starting to be pushed out by some of the lobbyists. Some of the big money people don't seem to like it too much. It's making them very uncomfortable, right? Now I am on the board in 3 different roles for the Realtor Association to make sure that it is happening, because it is necessary. But in that, we have to make sure that we even do it right. So, and don't follow their agenda, because at the end of the day, the powers are still the powers, and we're not in power. Right. Right. And so we only can manage what we can at our level.
Yeah. And what you're saying is so on point too, because I'm a first time homeowner, right? I just bought my crib a couple of years ago. I'm coming up on 3 years now.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And I know for me, when I bought my crib, it was uber important for me to, to make sure that I had a realtor that looked like me, because you got to think too, we were in a market at the time when it was hard to get a house. You know what I mean? Like, it was super, super hard to get a house. And I needed someone who was really going to advocate for me, right? So, and I think I kind of lucked up anyway, because, you talk about speaking a certain type of language and things like that. Like, my realtor, shout out to, I'm put them out there. Shout out to MMB, you know what I mean? Like, they were my Tamika, that's my girl. We go all the way back to high school together. But she was phenomenal. The whole team was phenomenal in making sure that, we were properly represented in that home search process. And, we ended up getting a home that we absolutely love, in the area that we wanted to be in. And I don't think that, that necessarily would have happened if we would have worked with someone, because obviously people are always looking for the commission or whatever, you know what I mean? But I don't think, like you said, some people just don't go as hard, for certain types of people if you don't know them, you don't have a relationship with them, right? So, so I think that was really important for us to make sure that we had that representation. But I wanted to switch gears for a little bit, because you your partner, Paulie. Shout out to Paul. That's my guy. We actually go back as well. Used to work together during our time in government. But you guys started something major up here, you know, with NARAB. So can you talk a little bit about what NARAB is and like why y'all thought it was important for y'all to bring it here to Buffalo?
Sure. So long story. I'm gonna make it real quick as best as I can. So let me just kind of take you to the origin. So we mentioned the Buffalo Niagara Association of Realtors. A realtor is a trade association, and it's a name that's allowed to be given by the members of the trade association, and it's obviously real estate based. The association's been around for 100 plus years. Problem is that association during those times that we created the organization didn't allow people of color to practice real estate. So while we couldn't practice real estate, we also couldn't purchase in certain neighborhoods, right? Typically suburban neighborhoods. So that just kind of kept us in a weird space. So if you tried to purchase your home before 68, you would not be using Tamika Murphy Collins. You would have to use Joe Schlesenberger, right? Because he was allowed to help you do that. You couldn't purchase where you are today because that's considered, you know what I'm saying? So in 1947 in Tampa, Florida, 12 men and one woman got together. They're all real estate professionals, and they said enough is enough. Out of Booker T. Washington's organization that was about business professionals, they started kind of an outshoot, and this became NARAB. This is us saying we're going to create some solidarity in this thing, and we're going to start working together. We're going to start figuring out where these homes are. We're going to start figuring out how we work to serve our people. And then we're going to push for some equity and some inclusion into that. And so they did. And what happened was in 66, they got together and they went to Dr. King and they said, hey, Doc, listen, this ain't right. We need some laws. And we got this thing that we kind of put together. It's like a fair housing bill. Could you push this for us? And he did. Unfortunately, it wasn't until his murder and during the riots of his murder in 68 that they pushed it forward. It became what we know now today as the fair housing law. This is where there is diversity and it must be allowed, right, in certain spaces. And you can't discriminate. And so that was our organization. So that's where the origin is, and that's why it's important today. Been around 77 years this year, and 35 stateside, 110 boards. The thing is that in Western New York, there was really kind of only a downstate chapter. So there's 5 down there. One in Albany is still developing itself. I think they have 2 or 3 members, but nothing moving in the Western New York region. And so I said, man, Albany's quite far, and downstate is definitely not Buffalo. Yeah. And so it was hard for me to not tap in on this thing. I got a meeting with Ben Upshaw, and I said, man, Ben, how did you get to where you are? You're like the only black developer in town. You've done a lot downstate, and some things up here. I need to see what you did. So he said very simply, first of all, you need to join NARAB. I'm on a development board. You need to check that out. And so fast forward, I joined that day at that dinner. And I went to
It was the Albany chapter?
No, I joined the Jersey chapter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because Albany was still growing. I didn't want to join anything that was growing. That's not a good start. Yeah. You got, unless they have some movers and shakers, and I don't know that they do or don't. So I joined the Jersey chapter, and they brought me in, and they said, yeah, whatever you need, we'll help you all the way over where you are. And so I said, okay, let's go. So I joined it right away. I went to a week-long development conference in Detroit, which he was a board member of that. It's an affiliate of the organization, and it opened my whole world to development, right? I was familiar with it because I saw it, but seeing it is one thing, understanding it is another. And we just don't have the right programs here. There are 3 different development programs, and they're fixated. They have programs fixated for BIPOC individuals, but still walking away from those, I still struggle to, I struggle to see why people are not fully resourced. They come to me and say, hey, I need to know how to do a performer. You just came out of a development program. You just spent half a year in a program. How do you not? I went to a week-long conference with NARAB, and I got all of that. I can't understand. So what I understand is we get taught to as far as they want to teach us, and then they tell us to go do something. We don't have the tools. NARAB has the tools, has the resources. So it has 9 different affiliates, and each one focuses on different things. Development, why are women investing in real estate, broker owner, sales, all these different affiliates, and they teach you how to do what we're not being taught. So when you juxtapose Realtor and Realtors, our organization, to the other organization, the Realtor organization is really focused on, our National Association of Realtors is focused on making sure that you're safe and protected as an agent, as a broker, and protect their name. NARAB educates you. It exposes these other spaces. One thing that I thought was really big, and it's by this time I drew Paul into it. He was sold on it right away. That was last January of 23, and he saw it a couple of days later. He said, "Oh my God!" I said, "Right, right." Mm-hmm. So what we doing? He said, "We got to go." So we went, and we're here. So we don't have any black appraisers, and I'm big on talking about equity. You can't have equity if someone from outside the neighborhood is coming to your neighborhood where you're taking up 40% of the population. Mm-hmm. East side is 1/3 of the city. Well, we know it's 4 sides, but that's 1/3 of the city, right? 33% of the city, not a quarter. And so when you have people from outside come in to make decisions on how much the value of the properties are, that can be finagled. And so when I started making phone calls to all of the 30 different appraisal companies, I asked them, "Do you have any people of color in your company?" I got hung up on twice. By the time I made my 8th call, I had enough. The bottom line was there are no black appraisers in West Wow. There are no black appraisers.
That's wow.
So how can we possibly expect our neighborhoods to gain equity? Right. If you look at, I'm not going to name any neighborhoods, but if you look at some neighborhoods, they've only grown maybe $15,000, $20,000 in 15, 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
I could look at another neighborhood that's not.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And they just went up 9 months, that much.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we talk about doing what they did, right, when we talk about white flight, right, there won't be a black flight. It can't be a black flight because we don't have enough equity to pull from the property to keep it there, to rent it out to the next community that wants to come in and then go build our own home in the next community. We can't do what they did because they haven't given us enough cushion to do it, right? So I said, well, we need some developers. We need some more brokers. We definitely need some appraisers because none of us can really move if we don't have someone dictating the value of the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And, the argument for some people were like, well, then it's going to be bias. And it's not now.
I mean.
And this is it. Like, I'm not trying to say we're going to go out there and do some weird stuff. I'm just saying I would love to see somebody walk into a neighborhood that looks like them, that they're not fearful to walk out of their vehicle during the whole pandemic. And this is partially because it was COVID. But we have appraisal reports that are pictures from the vehicle. Dirty window in the vehicle. You didn't even roll the window down.
That's wild.
Wow.
They're called pull-up appraisals, like drive-by appraisals. You didn't even roll the window down, boop, and then judge the value of the property. How, Sway? Wow. How do you do that?
And what's crazy too? I remember seeing a report. I forget which news channel it was on, but it was about just the discrimination when it comes to appraisals, right? Because they were just saying how there was this one particular couple. I can't remember where it was, but they literally had to kind of, in their house, like take down all of their pictures and things like that because they didn't want potential buyers when they come in to see that, black people, own this home or people of color own this home. And when they did that, their house got appraised for a higher value. Mm-hmm. Does that type of stuff typically happen here?
That's very real. That's very, wild, very real. And the tough part about it is, so one thing you can do if that happens to you, and it's for everyone to know, you can challenge your appraisal. Problem is typically that same appraiser appraises the property again. Who you ask a doctor for their doctor's advice, or you ask the doctors for what they feel what needs to be done. And you tell a doctor, I think you're wrong. And you go back to the doctor again. What do you think the doctor's going to say?
Yes, right. That's like when the police thump on somebody and then they have the police investigate the police.
Right. So do you think this was justice?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, no. So that's a problem. That process, the challenge process is a problem. Furthermore, sometimes you can challenge and it's another appraiser that comes out. Again, I just told you 30 different companies, all white people. You think Tom's going to say something different than Jack or Joe or Diane or no?
They probably all in cahoots with each other.
Yes,
yeah.
because
so, what's that process like to even become an appraiser? Like, is it like this kind of good old boys club that they only allow certain types of people to get in? Like, what's that process? So if you got somebody who's out there listening right now and watching this thing, I'm like, damn, this messed up. I want to go. I think I need to become an appraiser. What's that process like?
So let me start with what we have been able to do. So as the organization NARAB has partnered, we have MOUs with certain organizations, and one of our MOUs is with National Urban League. Mm-hmm. So what Urban League's decided to do, and as one of our title sponsors, Chase Bank, decided to do, and what what we all did collectively is gone to Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac, who writes these loans, right? So they're a part of it because you're writing the loans. So we've gone to them and we were able to raise $8 million.
Nice.
And that $8 million is...
You say you talk about...
Us, NARAB, as well as, no, not the local, no.
Oh, but the national NARAB.
Yes.
Okay.
So they pushed it and they kind of fell back to allow National Urban League and Chase Bank to take it to Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac.
Okay.
And so it came back with $8 million. Now they came back and told us as NARAB, hey, look, this is available. Look at this organization. Look at this company. The company is Appraisal Institute. Appraisal Institute teaches appraisers. Appraisal Institute, through a D in the middle, there's Appraisal Diversity Institute, ADI. So what Appraisal Diversity Institute does is they'll give sponsorships for those who are looking to, for not minorities, who are looking to get into the appraisal space. But because you've dealt in the political space, I know all minorities isn't what we see minorities to be necessarily. A white woman can be a minority. So the majority of these people that go through the course and get these scholarships are white women, right? It's the husband saying, hey, go get that. You're a minority. And we see that
all the time.
We see that in commercials.
WBE, that W.
That W.
Oh, yeah.
That W's for white half the time.
That's a fact.
Yes. So,
white woman.
Yes. They might as well put two W's there.
Right.
We know what it is.
WWBE.
Right. So, and I'm not mad, right? If you're going to write the game, you're going to make sure that you got a way for your people to come in and out the back door. So I'm not mad. It's well written, but that just means we need to double down and make sure that we're filling those rooms and filling those voids. So what we said on the local is what we want to do. One of our 3 initiatives, one is to make sure we have more black homeowners, right? Because that 40-something percent is now dropping to a low 40. We've been dropping for the last 77 years that this organization has been in place. We're going in the wrong direction. After we made it rightful and justful, it's not the word, for us
Get what you mean.
for us to buy homes, somehow that ratio has dropped. Now I have ideas of why, but I don't like to talk about it because then people use that as their excuse. So I know why. I'll talk about it amongst our people in this space, but I won't let the community know why. They don't need to know why. What you need to know is our numbers are dropping and we need them to come back up. So black homeownership, developers, and appraisers. So what we said was we're going to, every time ADI has their course, they have a 2-hour course. It's a virtual course. Every time they have a virtual course, we're going to do a watch session. So we want people to tune in or come to the location that we're going to have it played at. And we want you to sit this thing out with us. And we're going to go through it. And we're going to get you guys into this course. The minimum for that is really just to watch the course, to register after that you were on the course. And it's a 300-word essay that states why you feel that you need this scholarship. We did that in January, and we got 5 people a scholarship.
Wow.
Nice.
3 women and 2 men.
Nice.
Black.
That's
Right?
so dope.
We did it again in early March, and we got 7 people in this course. Right, $1,800. It pays for your course. It pays for your literature. You need nothing but that. That gets you your license. Once you go through that month-long course, you pass your test, gets you your license. Now you need to get certified. Here's the funny part about New York State, and you already know how New York State is. There's about 47 states in the United States that allow for people to take a 9-month fast version, a virtual version of the certificate program, which is essentially like 3,200 hours. They allow that in all states but California, New York, and I think there's another state or 2. So New York says, no, we want you to do the whole 2-year, 32 hours a week, unpaid journeyman in order for you to be an appraiser. Well, that's difficult. That's very difficult. How many people do you know that could take 32 hours a week to work for free for 2 years to be an appraiser?
Yeah.
No.
So we have a problem with New York State. That's something that we have to figure out. How do we get the state to get on board with all of the other states to do a 9-month, expedited course?
And for New York to be this quote unquote progressive state,
oh
man,
I don't understand.
So backwards.
It's very contradictory when they say that. I struggle a lot with that. But nevertheless, we've got the people this information. Now, what I'm hearing now is that we actually can get certified in another state, take the exam there, and you have reciprocity into New York State. So that's what some people's hack are. So we're finding that out, and it is legit. And so we're going to figure out how we make that happen. You just have to have a residency in another state. So that becomes a whole nother stickler. At the same time, at our event, we're bringing in a lady named Sonia Dickens. Sonia Dickens works with Chase Bank.
Okay.
So she was one of the very few people in the beginning of this program with Chase Bank where they'll allow you to come in with just a license, and you'll work under Chase Bank as an employee, get paid,
Nice.
and finish a journeyman through Chase Bank. Now we're talking. Now this is making sense.
Right.
You would have known none of this stuff if it wasn't for NARAB. So back to the point of why NARAB is important here is that exposure. The fact that we found this out in such a short period of time and we were able to bring it to the community, expose the fact that none of us exist in this space, show the value and the reason why we need it, and then provide the resources in order to make it happen, right? That's what we do. That's what we're here for.
So this event that you're talking about is this month on the 13th, correct?
That's correct.
Can you give a little bit of details of the event that's coming up so that people know what they're coming into, and we can try to engage some people to really come out? So just speak more about what's going to be in that event. What's going to be
Absolutely,
told.
absolutely. So I appreciate that. So this event is called the Building the Black Wealth Expo. So Building Black Wealth tour is happening across the nation. That's our president and the rest of the national board. They're going to be moving around. They've been moving around city to city. 101 cities are actually doing it, and they're doing a full tour. What they're doing across the nation on those days that they land, the rest of the cities that are not being visited on are all doing the same event, same day on April 13th from 10 to 3 p.m. So what that consists of, it's vending tables with the real estate resources, with the brokers, with the development companies, contracting companies, inspectors, so that you can talk to them, right? In addition, what that also is panel sessions. So we're having 6 panel sessions here. Some of the panel sessions are women investing in real estate. So you're going to hear about from some of the women in town that have been doing some really, really magnificent things. And I don't really think they're getting their due. So we want to make sure we put them on the pedestal. Another thing is what to do with Big Mama's house. Very important conversation. You remember from Soul Food, and they had an argument about what are we doing? You can't. We've watched so many of our people lose because the next generation wasn't prepared to receive it. They didn't know how to, and they didn't know the value, right? They could have called a real estate professional and found out what the value of their property was, but instead they sold it to whoever they sold it to off market for a couple of dollars. Saw that person turn around, put it on the market, or kept it. Regardless, the value is gone. You've missed that huge wealth opportunity. And so we want to make sure that we show people how wills and trust are developed and set up, and why they're important, especially a trust over a will. Why adverse, and how to move through like an adverse possession, bankruptcy, foreclosures, forbearances, all of that. We're talking about all of those things, and we're going to have attorneys from several different organizations like Western New York Law Center, Minority Bar Association. They're coming in as the attorneys on the spot to speak to the people about it. That's that panel. Another panel is ABCs of home buying. So, right, we can talk about the reason why it's important, to your point, the reason why it's important to use a realtist, right, a person that's with this organization to purchase a home. We know why it's important. You might not even understand why it's important, right? But we know why it's important. We're going to explain that to you, and we're going to make sure that you understand the value in choosing one of us versus one of the others. And, like I said, 4 other panels, one-on-one breakout sessions with the agents, with the attorneys, with the loan officers. We'll have several loan officers in the room that are in the panels, kind of mixing through. We're also going to have the loan companies as vendors as well. So you're going to be able to pop out of one of those panels and go into a one-on-one session with the person that just told you. What I found is, and one of my mantra is access and execute. So it's one thing to access the information. I expose it to you, you now know it, got it. But what are we doing with that? Right? How many times have we all been to different places, wrote down a bunch of notes and never opened that thing back up? Never did anything with it. So access is one thing, but the execution is the other. So I want to ensure that the ability to execute is happening on that spot. You can't just keep going to workshops and summits and seminars and walking out and not having the ability to do something on site. So we're providing laptops for individuals so they can sit down. We're telling people what to bring in advance. Come with the stuff in the cloud or on Drive so that you can upload it into the computer so you can do your loan process there. I mean, honestly, a loan application takes you 15 minutes if you got the stuff ready to go. So by the time somebody out there eating breakfast, lunch, you're qualified to buy a home. Right. So it's those things right there, very important. I mean, naturally, we got the raffles and the giveaways. Breakfast is being served. It's on us. This is a completely free event. Nice. So Crenshaw chicken and waffle for breakfast.
Oh my God!
I knew he was gonna do that. I knew he was gonna do it. I knew he was gonna do it.
Y'all sold out.
It's a sold out event already. It's a sold out event already. We have a wait list though. So
don't be on the wait list. Don't be at the top of the wait list, bro. And not just for Crenshaw. Like no, but seriously, because I think what y'all are doing is is absolutely incredible. It's needed here. This education, and you talk about the execution piece, because the one thing that I usually tell people, there's this equation that I live by in life, right? It's information plus application equals transformation, right? You once you get the information, you have to apply that information that you get in order to see real transformation happening. Absolutely. So, because you're right, people go to these different conferences and stuff all the time. I used to be guilty of that. Going, I got all the notes. I can show you my phone. I got all the notes, bro. You know what I mean? And sometimes they just sit in my phone as notes, right? So we really got to start applying those things. And I think what you guys are doing is, I really think it's gonna be transformative for a lot of people. Yeah. Because that education piece is needed. Oftentimes people don't know because you don't know what you don't know, right? So the fact that you guys are providing that information, you're not gatekeeping the information. You guys can easily keep the stuff to yourselves and just use it to your own personal benefit and such. But you guys really want to see some transformative things take place. So, man, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for talking about this. I think it's really important. We got to have you guys back on the show, especially when Paulie comes back, man, because like the dynamic between the two of you guys together, I think it's just that. It's dynamic, right? So. But we want to have you guys talk, because I have so many questions. I got questions about HELOC. It's stuff that I've been learning about recently, right? And
3 years ownership.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Oh. So I'm just like, man, I'm trying to figure. I'm trying to build some wealth too. Sure. You know what I'm saying. So, but we gotta have you guys come back. But for people, if they wanted to connect with you, connect with the organization, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah. So the local board, our name is the Erie Niagara Board of Realtors. So if you go to Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, you'll find us under Erie Niagara Board of Realtors, RELTIST, and that is our name. So if you want to follow the larger, absolutely search the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, or NAREB. You'll find that as well. And I think that following both is very, very important. You need to see what's happening on your local and what we're doing between here and Rochester. We're building up the Rochester as well as the Syracuse board as well as we move ours. But you need to see what the national is doing. That is the real shine. To see these people do what they're doing, it's just, it's major. And so, I have a bunch of E's that I live by in this organization, and, just running them down, it's expose, it's educate, enrich, elevate, the whole nine. Like, I got like 10 E words that this organization is really here for. And I just want people to understand it's not just us, right? We got 77 years behind us. This is not Paul and I's thing. We saw it, and we saw it was necessary. We're about abundance and reciprocity. So how can we make everyone win together and win collectively? Right. And that's where our minds are, and that's where our hearts are. So
that's super dope, man. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, man. We really appreciate you. Appreciate you for coming on, dropping this information. I got to get on top of that wait list, though.
We'll get you in there.
I appreciate you, man. Thank y'all again for tuning in to another episode of We Are the Ones podcast. Make sure you follow us across all streaming platforms, Apple Podcasts, iHeart. We're everywhere you listen to podcasts. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us across all of social media platforms at We Are the Ones podcast.
And remember, keep winning on purpose, because you are the one we have been waiting for.